Oh, how I wish I saw this movie theaters. If this movie came out in my area, yeah, I would have watched the re-release, the 20th anniversary re-release of this film, but it just didn't get a release in my area, and I'm jealous. Hello there, everyone. This is Frozen Wish Stews here, and welcome back to another movie review. And today's the day I am finally reviewing this one. Continuing on my Star Wars review marathon in honor of Star Wars month, I am here today to do a review on Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. So, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith is the third and final installment in the prequel trilogy and the sixth film in the Skywalker saga. And it came out in the year 2005, 20 years ago. Yes, happy 20th anniversary to this film right here. And it is directed once again by George Lucas, and it stars Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Ian McDiarmid, Samuel L. Jackson, Jimmy Smith, Frank Oz, Anthony Daniels, Christopher Lee, Tamora Morrison, David Bowers, Kenny Baker, Ahmed Best, Joel Edgerton, etc. And so the film tells a story the film tells a story taking place a couple of years after the beginning of the Clone Wars, where the film starts off with the end of Clone Wars, where it pretty much cuts all the loose ties that Attack of the Clones left off. Where if you guys remember, at the end of Attack of the Clones, Count Dooku got away, and but now in this one, Anakin has finally had his chance to defeat the Count Dooku once and for all. And so the defeat of Count Dooku has officially ended the Clone Wars. But things are not over for Anakin and other characters. As deep down, there is still a war that is about to plague the galaxy, and it is a war that is even bigger and even worse than the Clone Wars itself. Anakin struggles with his inner demons even more than ever, as he pretty much spends far too much time with the Emperor Palpatine, up to the point where Palpatine starts to talk about his how much his admiration of the dark side of the Force, giving conversations about Darth Plagueis and his fascination for the dark side, made which makes Anakin curious about the dark side. But then, meanwhile, battle droids come into war, as now the Jedi and a bunch of other armies are facing off against the droids, and Emperor Palpatine gets kidnapped by Grievous. So Obi-Wan goes on a mission to rescue to defeat the General Grievous from trying to kill kill Palpatine. But then it was revealed that Palpatine was actually the Dark Lord that they have been looking for, the big bad who has been who has been present throughout the first two films, and have been hiring people like Darth Maul and Count Dooku to be the bad the villains of the first two films and all that stuff. So now but then Anakin gets deceived by Emperor Palpatine when he says that the dark side of the Force would save Padme, because because Anakin apparently loves Padme more than any other, and so Anakin gets deceived by Palpatine, and so yeah, in order to save Padme, Anakin agrees to become Palpatine's new apprentice and get the name of Darth Vader. But then the galaxy gets put into risk as Palpatine orders the clones to execute Order 66, revealing that they were actually evil this whole time and were only um uh, manipulating the Jedi to work for them and to work with them and all that stuff. And so the battle of the fates comes into fruition as the film sets up a new hope. So yeah, now out of all the Star Wars movies I am reviewing in honor of Star Wars Month, Revenge of the Sith is the Star Wars movie that I was actually most hyped to talk about. I mean, not that it is my favorite Star Wars movie, because spoiler alert, it's not my number one favorite Star Wars movie. But yeah, but this is the one that I was just most excited to rewatch, because I haven't rewatched this in years. According to my Letterboxd track record, the last time I rewatched this movie was in 2021. And so yeah, I was actually a completely different kind of movie fan back then. I was a different kind of film buff. I had completely different taste in movies, and yes, I remember for the longest time, Revenge of the Sith was my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. It is my favorite Star Wars movie. No, it was my favorite. But then eventually I changed my mind. I did change my mind, and that I it eventually put at Empire Strikes Back as my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, and I actually do stand by that, because Empire Strikes Back truly is the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. But I am aware of the fact that Revenge of the Sith is a fan favorite. There are a handful of people who say that Revenge of the Sith is the greatest Star Wars movie of all time, or at least their favorite Star Wars movie. But as for me personally, going into this rewatch, I was actually worried that I might be glazing on this a bit too much. But I think I do have such great memories for this film. I do have nostalgic memories from when I first saw Star Wars for the first time in my life. I first actually watched the movies. I did say in my Phantom Menace rant that I watched the prequel trilogy for first before the original trilogy. So like with the Phantom Menace and the Attack of the Clones, I questioned myself if I was actually going to be a Star Wars fan, if Star Wars is actually for me. Well, I guess now, after watching this film for the very first time, my impression was this was my first impression was, this is the Star Wars movie I've been waiting for. This is this was the Star Wars movie that made me a Star Wars fan, which is why this movie is so special to me. And I remember in my school too, like in my school, everybody considered this as their absolute favorite Star Wars movie. Like this was the fan favorite though, and and even like one of my closest friends back in elementary called this her, yes, it's a she, her favorite movie of all time. So that was something, and yeah, and she had a huge crush on Obi Wan. That friend of mine had a huge crush on Obi Wan Kenobi, by the way. So yeah, I went into this rewatch with a bit of an open mind, as to see like, oh, if it really is among the greatest Star Wars movie of all time, and if it is as good as it is, as I remember, and most of all, if it is the best movie of 2005. But I gotta say, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith is just as masterful as I remember it being. Now, is this the best Star Wars movie of all time? No. That would that would still go to The Empire Strikes Back. But this would be my second favorite Star Wars movie, hands down, second only behind Empire Strikes Back. And considering how George Lucas did not direct Empire Strikes Back, this is the best George Lucas directed Star Wars movie yet, even over A New Hope. But now, in my rant and Attack of the Clones, I stated that my biggest criticism with the prequel trilogy is the fact that the first two installments in the prequels were telling stories that did not need to be told. I mean, they literally saved the whole Anakin downfall storyline that we wanted to see in this film. So the first two films was like basically intentionally a chore to sit through, as the writers try way too hard to like give ideas in order to just force in an entire trilogy. But like young Anakin like being discovered and all that stuff, that could have been like the prologue of a film, an entire solo film about Anakin becoming Darth Vader and the events of Attack of the Clones. Who the fuck cares? I mean, you could have literally just like told this entire Clone Wars story in that Clone Wars TV show. There's no need for we have like an investigation on who's about to assassinate Padme. No one cares. And besides introducing the showing us the first Jedi Knight to turn to the dark side, it does not do anything else to push Anakin's arc forward, the arc that we needed. So this is the only one we need. Yeah, this is the only Star Wars movie that every single Star Wars fan should watch in the prequel trilogy. I would, for newcomers of Star Wars, I would highly recommend skip the first two episodes. Only watch this one. Pretend this is the only prequel trilogy film in the prequels, Star Wars prequels that matters. That matters. And yeah, this film had a story that was truly needed. The opening crawl immediately sets the bar for what's to come with its high stakes. How can anyone not instantly get hooked with the first word in a crawl being war? And I do feel like fans had low expectations for this due to the reputation of the first two, which are shit. But the opening crawl immediately I'm sure that would immediately give fans more confidence that this was going to be a banger. And it is. The movie is exactly like the tone of the opening crawl is exactly the tone of this actual movie. This is the like what I said earlier. This is the most important Star Wars movie ever, as it is the actual build up to Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader. Some I mean, there are a handful of people who say that this movie is kind of overrated and not that great, and they are saying that Revenge of the Sith fans only praise this movie just because of the high stakes and ignore the fact that this has bad writing. Now, I can acknowledge the cheesy dialogue present in the film, despite the dialogue being very quotable and iconic to this day. But the storyline, it is nowhere near as bad as it has nowhere near bad as it has every single little detail provided to build up into the original trilogy of Star Wars, like including like the birth of Luke and Leia and their separation at the end. In terms of scale and scope, this is the biggest and bombastic Star Wars movie yet. Not even Rise of Skywalker could have a bigger scale than this, even if it tried to. The opening scene in the film perfectly cuts the loose ends of Attack of the Clones, of where Attack of the Clones left off with Count Dooku being defeated and the Clone Wars coming to an end. Now, if there is any negative I have about the film, like any nitpicks whatsoever, it's that there was a moment in the film that took a while to get going. Specifically after that epic opening scene that ended the Clone Wars. The moments from Another Happy Landing to the conversation about Darth Plagueis are they were the clear weak link in the film. Like though, like those gaps between the opening fight and then the next action scene, it did take a while to get going. This is actually the one reason why I think that Empire Strikes Back is better, because Empire Strikes Back was much more engaging from start to finish. It had a much faster pacing, and like I mean, sure, maybe some can say that it had slow pacing at first when they first watch it, but but the more rewatches you give Empire Strikes Back, the more you realize it's actually fast paced. The pace is actually very snappy. Despite not having the action taking a while to get to the action, it's still very engaging. Yeah, the scene with Palpatine telling Anakin about Darth Plagueis and the dark side of the Force is one of the most. It is to me where the film actually picks up, as it is one of the most important scenes in the film. since we see Anakin curious about the dark side, making that one moment the true cause of Anakin turning to the dark side. And we also got the an iconic quote in that moment: "The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural." And then Anakin asks, um, is it possible a Jedi Master can learn it, something like that? Is it possible to learn this Force? And then Palpatine's like, not from a Jedi. But deep down, Palpatine knew that Anakin was the kind of person who would actually use the Force, use the dark side of the Force. But Anakin's deep down, Anakin still had a curiosity going around, and that curiosity was just the start of Anakin. To me, in my point of view, that was where Anakin just that was the cause of Anakin turning into the dark side. When the action kicks in with the Wookiees versus battle droids, that the the rest of the film um, has contains continuous action, non-stop action, like throughout. The visuals are certainly an upgrade from the last two films. The films were sure. The CGI is better, and yeah, Coruscant truly solidifies itself as my absolute favorite Star Wars planet, and it looks much more polished in this one than it was in Attack of the Clones. And yeah, Hayden Christensen finally gives a banger of a performance as Anakin after his lackluster performance in Attack of the Clones. In this film, you can really feel he was passionate to play a character who has fell from grace and turned into a dark side. Anakin finally commits to his role as Anakin. And the people say Hayden Christensen's performance is still bad. You need to get your bias against Attack of the Clones in the prequel trilogy just out of your mind, because this movie is nothing like the prequels. In fact, the people who say that this movie is bad just because it's part of the prequel trilogy are fucking liars. Yeah, please consider your reconsider your opinion. This is nothing like the first two Star Wars movies. Ewan McGregor shines as the fan favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi, and gives what and he is the one who gives some of the most quotable lines in all of Star Wars, such as "Another happy landing. Hello there. You were the chosen one. It was said that you were to destroy the Sith, not join them. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you." And best of them all, the best line in the movie: "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground." Sure, objectively, they're not as iconic as "No, I am your father," which still remains the greatest Star Wars quote ever. But yeah, the lines here are one of the a part of the reasons that makes this a fan favorite. This movie a fan favorite. But in my personal opinion, it's Natalie Portman who gives the best performance in the film. I don't get why people say her acting is the worst, and Padme getting heartbroken over finding out Anakin's true colors is fake acting. Like, come on, Natalie Portman truly knocked it out of the park in that Mustafar moment, and in other scenes too. Besides that, you can really feel her acting going hard. I'm just a fan of Padme. She's my favorite character in the prequel trilogy, and my second Star Wars crush in general, second only behind Princess Leia from the original trilogy. Another stand-up performance in the film is Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine. Once everyone finds out that he is the Dark Lord, Ian absolutely crushes it in giving such an evil and menacing performance. Oh, especially in that scene when Mace Windu and his Jedi apprentices his assistants are about to arrest Palpatine, and then Palpatine just strikes at the Jedi, giving a roar. Yeah, yeah, and he even like brutally kills Windu's assistants. Yeah, I think Palpatine might be the best male character in this film. The more I think about it, yes, even Obi-Wan Kenobi, and even before that moment of everyone finding out Palpatine's true colors, it is already clear to viewers and fans that Palpatine is evil when he constantly when we learn about the fact that he admires the dark side. He constantly philosophizes about it, talks about it to Anakin, and then even tempts Anakin to use it, manipulating him. The film is jam packed with lightsaber duels after lightsaber duels, such as Obi-Wan versus General Grievous, Mace Windu versus Palpatine, so on and so forth. The Execute Order 66 scene until the very end that contains some of the absolute best of Star Wars, like a best of the best in Star Wars. Now that Palpatine's true plan has been unveiled, the galaxy has never been put into a bigger state than this. The clones were clearly there to the clones truly were evil, but were only pretending to be on the good side. They just waited for Palpatine to like show off his true colors. Yeah, they just took a few years for Palpatine's plan to come into fruition. It's so the Execute Order 66 scene is so heartbreaking to watch. It is probably the hardest scene to watch in all of Star Wars. With all the Jedi, the downfall of the Jedi, um, all the supporting Jedi being killed, Anakin no longer being a Jedi we all knew him to be, and Obi-Wan being the only Jedi left, as indicated in A New Hope. But that scene is pretty much how all the Jedi got wiped out, and that's why all the Empire in A New Hope believed that there is like no more Jedi in existence. And then comes the greatest moment in all of Star Wars, the final battle, the most important battle in all of Star Wars, the Battle of the Fates, the Duel of the Fates. There is so much passion put within the choreography of Obi-Wan versus Anakin, up to the point where both actors are actually doing the stunt themselves without any stunt doubles or CGI. It's absolutely fast paced, it's energetic, it's exciting, it's exhilarating, goosebumps, best lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. No competition, honestly. It's no other lightsaber duels come close to that. But then we also got Yoda versus Palpatine, which is the most underrated lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. It gets overshadowed by Anakin versus Obi-Wan, but I would say both Anakin versus Obi-Wan and Yoda versus Palpatine are tied as the best lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars, given that both action scenes took place in the exact same scene, but then would just the editing would just shift back and forth between both action scenes, which is a great piece of editing. The Yoda versus Palpatine fight is literally the duel of the fates, which is why the duel of the fates track is the most fitting for that fight, better than the Darth Maul fights. Oh, and speaking of which, John Williams' score for this is this features the absolute best score in all of Star Wars, and John Williams' best work yet. It's epic, it's operatic, it sets a harrowing tone to the film, and it just gives a feel of both excitement and heartbreak combined. You can tell that out of all the people working on this film, John Williams was the most passionate in giving it his all. The final battle consists of John Williams' greatest Star Wars tracks rolled into one, from Duel of the Fates to my favorite Star Wars track, Battle of the Heroes. And, uh, and the conclusion to Obi-Wan versus Anakin is extremely hard to watch, especially with Anakin getting burned by the lava. Yeah, that is just that is absolutely disturbing. That is actually one of the reasons why this eventually became the very first Star Wars movie to earn a PG-13 rating. Because this is probably the most violent Star Wars movie ever. The ending perfectly, while the ending is heartbreaking and it is put into a very low with these characters, it perfectly wraps up the origin story of Vader and build into a new hope. I mean, the the creation of the Vader suit and the rise of Vader, and plus the fact that we actually got to hear Vader's voice in that ending, perfect. And we also got to get Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia, and then just the dying of childbirth with the that emotional funeral scene that got me tearing up. C-3PO and R2D2's memory getting wiped, which is how in New Hope they don't remember anything about Vader and all the events. Yeah, and yeah, that actually makes sense on why C3P and R2D2 constantly get confused and act like they don't know what they're doing in A New Hope. And also Luke and Leia being separated because now that they both don't have their biological parents, and they're actually afraid of Luke and Leia having the Force connection, so they both get raised separately, etc. Oh, and also this is the very first Star Wars movie to use the Force theme at the end, which eventually becomes a common trend for Star Wars to use the Force theme at the end. I wish every single Star Wars movie did this, including the ones prior to this. So overall, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith is the perfect Star Wars movie to build upon everything we wanted to see in a Darth Vader prequel. The fall of Anakin, the fall of the Jedi, the galaxy nearly going extinct, and the setup to A New Hope. But this is truly the second best Star Wars movie behind The Empire Strikes Back, and it still remains the best movie of 2005. I don't remember considering any other movie of 2005 like better than this. And as of now, this has a Letterboxd rating of 4 out of 5, which is pretty much a high bar in terms of Letterboxd rating. And it deserves to get a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. That is just a milestone accomplishment. I think this movie deserves to be a fan favorite, the Star Wars flick, because of just how epic it is. This is the Avengers Infinity War of Star Wars. So with that said, guys, I'm gonna give Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, of course, 5 stars out of 5. Masterpiece movie. So also for my review of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, what are your thoughts on the movie? Would you agree with me that this is the second best Star Wars movie behind Empire Strikes Back? Would this be your favorite Star Wars movie in general? Or do you think that this movie is a tad bit overrated and that there are better ones out there? So yeah, comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for more videos to come. My next, yeah. So now we ended week 2 of Star Wars, and now week 3 is next week, which is going to be now. Now I'm gonna be getting into the Disney Star Wars films. Solo Star Wars story it is going to be my next Star Wars review. Given that how in the timeline it takes place way before the sequel trilogy, and I think I prefer saving the sequel trilogy for last. Well, the two J.J. Abrams Star Wars movie technically, since I'm not going to review the entire trilogy, considering how I've already reviewed Return the Last Jedi back in 2022. But my next move, my actual next movie review, well, besides the continuation of my Frozen Awards, because do plan on recording the next part of my Frozen Awards later today. My next review will be Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, since I am seeing it on Sunday. So yeah, bye guys.